Right, a very good morning to you. It is the 3rd day of November 2022, a Thursday. Quite a chilly morning, by the way. In Nairobi, it is raining for you to know. And it is Morning Cafe, and quite a lot lined up for you this particular morning from 6 a.m. all the way to 10 a.m. So stick around for all that. And as the norm, we'll definitely be taking a look at the dailies, and the daily will be taking a look at the Daily Nation and also the Standard, that I have them right here today. And obviously the whole big news in both dailies, the naming of the 51 permanent secretaries by President William Ruto yesterday. We'll be taking a look at that with the panelist, Begi Gesicho, a political analyst, and Honorable Kiruga Thuku, member of County Assembly in Chinga Ward, to just dive into and delve into this particular matters of the permanent secretaries and what it really means. So let's start with the Daily Nation. Ruto government takes final shape. There you have it. The whole big front page, you can have it on your screens. It says mix of old and new. The list of proposed principal secretaries in the Kenya Kwanza administration reveals a delicate attempt by the president to equitably share the executive pie, but also exposes an inclination to reward party loyalists with plum positions. This story is extensive on page 2 and 3. So Daily Nation breaks down the numbers in matters gender, age, and the wealth also, and the regional balance. So when you look at matters age, it says the youngest is 43 years, Soipan Tuya, Cabinet Secretary, Environment. And who are youngest, the whole 43 years, and Cabinet Secretary, Health, Susan Nakumicha, and the oldest, 66 years, Cabinet Secretary of Education, Ezekiel Machogu, and also the Attorney General, Justin Muturi. Then matters gender, the CS 31%, the permanent secretary is 23%, that is in the women, and then in the males 69% in the cabinet secretaries and 77% in the permanent secretaries. So the Ruto government has 7 female ministers out of 22 and misses the 1/3 general by 2 percentage points. It also fails in the permanent secretary appointments, with only 12 out of the 51 posts going to women. And matters wealth, the total CS wealth is 15.6 billion Kenyan shillings. The average CS wealth is 650 million Kenyan shillings. Then Hustler Strongholds of Mount Kenya and Rift Valley takes the lion's share of CS and PS slots, and we'll be taking a look at that also in the whole regional balance of the permanent secretary out of the 51. Where does each and every single permanent secretary nominee lie? So 50% of cabinet positions, that is 11 out of 22, went to Mount Kenya and Rift Valley. Then 50.9% of principal secretary positions, that is 26 out of 21, went to Mount Kenya and Rift Valley, which says it excludes 1 post for Turkana. So, sharing the pie with crucial slots filled, focus now shifts to the controversial CAS positions, and we'll be getting to the bone of that and to the meat of that. One position that was ruled unconstitutional. Will President William Ruto continue having that position in his government? That is a wait and see on all that. Now, still on the right side of the Daily Nation on matters business. Tighten your belt. Life is about to get tougher, members of the parliament say in a new report. This story is extensive on the back page. But then before we cross over to the back page, on matters education, the ousted Professor Paul Wainaina is poised to return as Kenyatta University Vice Chancellor. This is one Don who was in, let's say, bad blood with former President Uhuru Kenyatta. So we'll be taking a look at that. He is also in the Presidential Working Party, just to look at the education working reforms in the country. So things might be just getting better and clearer for the ousted Professor Paul Wainaina. And as shock as 217 dead babies abandoned at Kenyatta. We'll be taking a look at that also. Let's cross over real quick to the back page of the Daily Nation. That's true that I told you, life to get tougher for members, for Kenyans. Members of the Parliament say, the report reveals. So delayed rains, Russia-Ukraine war, and a weak shilling set to push many into poverty. Now, taking a look at in numbers, 8.5 PC inflation in August, a historic high after breaching projected 7.5%. That is on the back page of your Daily Nation this beautiful Thursday morning. Then 1.3 trillion Kenyan shillings. The Kenya's debt repayments currently up from 850 million Kenyan shillings. Yes, they do have it right there. And matters of sports, this is passing of a legend. Kenya's first Olympic medalist Wilson Kiprugut Chumo dies while being treated at Kericho Hospital. Page 42 and 43. But then back to some matters, current affairs, and just to break it down on the whole permanent secretaries and who fits where and all that. Extensive on page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation. So on the page 2 now, the left side says skewed half of the posts went to Rift Valley and Mount Kenya. We'll be bringing it down and looking at the total numbers of who went where and all that. Ministry of CS, number of PSs, they're quite the whole list of the 51 nominees right there. In the list of 51, Dr. Ruto threw in a mix of technocrats, retained 6 current PSs, and rewarded key party loyalists. And one of the permanent secretaries who were retained and who were in the former Jubilee government include Julius Korir, who was the permanent secretary in matters devolution, and also Chris Hinga, and also who else? We'll be taking a look at that later on. So Mount Kenya Rift Valley regions hog list of Ruto's PS nominees. Just to have a brief on that, President William Ruto has handed half of the PS posts to Rift Valley and Mount Kenya, the 2 regions that gave him close to 2/3 of the vote in the August 9th general elections as his government takes shape. The list of 51 PS nominees released yesterday and who will be now vetted by various National Assembly committees before approval by the House. Dr. Ruto threw in a mix of technocrats, retained 6 current PSs, and rewarded key party loyalists, but ignored key election losers who had been in the 585 strong shortlist by the PSC, that is the Public Service Commission. So take a look at some lucky politicians in that particular list who survived the whole separating the wheat from the shaft. That includes the former Lang'ata Member of Parliament Nixon Korir, who has landed into the lands and physical planning. Former Nairobi Deputy Governor Jonathan Mweke into the sports, into the docket of the sports and arts, and also former Laikipia West Member of Parliament Patrick Mariru into matters defense. He's actually the only PS into that docket. And then parastatal heads, various heads of parastatals have also been nominated for the position of PS, that is including Dr. Raymond Omolo, who has been given the powerful docket of Interior. He's currently a director of the Lake Basin Development Authority. We do have Dr. Juma Mukwana, who is Director General and CEO of the Kenya National Qualifications Authority, has been nominated for as PS for the Department of Industry. Remember also the whole question of how much qualified are these nominees getting into these particular positions. This was a question that was raised during the vetting of the cabinet secretary nominees by the MPs. How qualified are the nominees when you're seeking this, or rather you're being vetted for a particular position? How qualified are you for that? Now let's take a look before we cross over to Standard. Quite important, page 4 of the Daily Nation. Men lead in mental illness and death, says a new Kenya National Bureau of Statistics report. It is quite important, mostly in this particular month, because this November is the Men's Mental Awareness Month. So key figures right there: reported deaths and illnesses. Women make up to 78% of the population with arthritis and 69% with hypertension. The number in thousands of women who died last year, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics says in its report, the men who died in the same period were 130,000. There is some pertinent issues to look at also. Senators revive call to change Constitution, and page 5, the Senate House Business Committee is in retreat. We'll be taking a look at that some 3 days. So just to the whole revival of changing Constitution, taking a look at that also. Let's cross over to the Standard right now. And still on the matters, the permanent secretaries, Ruto's big gamble in PS choices on your cover page of the Standard. Nominations in a delicate balance. President William Ruto retains a few PSs for continuity, goes for fresh blood in young ones, rewards loyalists and political allies, but falls short on regional balance, gender and minority representation. This story is extensive on page 4 and 5. So yeah, at least the whole shows the faces of the PSs who are set to be vetted. So on the right side of the Daily Nation highlights the hits and misses of the whole naming of this nominees. So in rewarding political allies, Ruto strategically goes for the younger blood. That's in the hits. For continuity, he retains 5 sitting PSs, leaves out others, including permanent former PS Health Susan Mochache, invents new power men, among them Raymond Omolo, PS Interior. And the misses, few communities, regions dominate half of the appointments, while some get none. Misses the gender threshold, with former gender CS Margaret Kofia disappointed. And political loyalists crowd out public service officials, a move faulted by some. Right, and now to some other pertinent issues. On page 3, court gives nod to land ministry plan to abandon manual system. Right, and now this story is extensive. The whole permanent secretaries is extensive on page 4 and 5. Test of regional balance, gender loyalty, as Ruto nominates 51 permanent secretaries. So Ruto's list falls short of gender balance even as he increases state departments to 49. Right, there's the whole list right there, from the first one, Julius Korea, State Department for Cabinet Affairs. This is under the Ministry of the Office of the Deputy President, also, who will also be assisted by Teresia Mbaika, pardon me, Malokwe, in the State Department for Devolution. Then on page 5, matters education, Teachers Union hail Bailio Kipsang selection. This is a man who has survived the test of time from since then, back in the days. So if President William Ruto has nominated Bailio Kipsang to be the new Basic Education Principal Secretary, if approved by Parliament, Dr. Kipsang will take over from Joan Julius, who took over his office in 2021. Ruto also nominated Esther Thara Mahoria, PS State Department of Technical and Vocational Training. She will take over from Margaret Mwakima, right? And now to some other matters. New CSs on the spot over roadside orders before first cabinet meeting. That is on page 6 of the Standard. These are some key issues. The whole brings up the whole topic of double speak on matters. This is one where trade CS Moses Kuria was quoted, saying. So he says President William Ruto's government will ban mitumba after providing cheaper alternatives. When you remember, during the campaign period, this is one issue that Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga was also hitting at, and the Kenya Kwanza brigade was, pointing an accusing finger at Raila Odinga, saying, why would you want to ban mitumba? So is this a whole case of double speak? What is happening here? All right. And Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, says a month ago, with no cabinet in place, he claimed he was misquoted on the Shamba system. Kalonzo Musyoka he accuses Ruto of unilaterally making policy decisions such as disbanding Special Service Unit at DCI. So, Kuria Juma latest to make controversial decrees that have attracted ridicule from Kenyans, right? And on matters still on page 6, Treasury staff's property frozen over alleged theft of 77 million Kenyan shillings. And just to take a look at page 8, it is an analysis, the same on the Daily Nation of the back page. Still matters the cost of living. As cost of living bites, all we need are fiscal policies to trim wastage. So it's a whole analysis of just giving out the solutions that we do need. And I always take a look at numbers, because numbers are always important in matters solutions, matters analysis. So 75% of the total recurrent expenditure on the Grand Coalition government of Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga completed its term in March 2013, according to the Central Bank of Kenya. 92% by the end of Kenyatta Ruto administration in July 2022. Recurrent expenditure gobbled an incredible 82% of total expenditure, leaving only 18% for development, right? And page 12 talks about the Kenyan troops headed to trouble the DRC as rebels intensify attacks, right? And one key important issue, I was looking at it for this Daily Nation, I'll source it out later on. In matters the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, it will form the backbone of our conversation with the panelists this particular morning. And this is one key pertinent issue that the members of the Parliament are, about in the House right now. Former CS Treasury could return it to disband funds from the Digital Treasury to the counties so that they can have these particular funds, the CDF funds. But then again, the Supreme Court ruled these funds unconstitutional. So we'll be taking a look at them. This story was actually in yesterday's dailies, but then it will also form our discussion today. Right, matters business. Let's cross over to Still Matters Daily Nation. Body calms for taxmen and agents on page 25. So KRA staff agents to wear body cameras to arrest corruption. Right, brings up the whole, how friendly is this going to be in matters taxman? Taxman was advised kindly, let's be friendly when, collecting taxes and all that. But then again, wearing body cameras to arrest corruption, how friendly is that? Taking a look at that. William Ruto says, I expect KRA to raise 3 trillion Kenyan shillings by the end of the next financial year and to double the current collection in 5 years. The last time the taxman was able to do that, the taxman raised 2.1 trillion Kenyan shillings. So this is going to be a whole extension of more than 50% of the numbers. So the taxman has invited bids for supply of cameras to be worn on staff clothes while on duty. But it beats the sense if we actually know that you're going to be wearing cameras, then I already know you're going to be wearing cameras. Quite food for thought right there. Now to some matters making news before we dive into this particular series later on. Now, the first story. Kenya joined the rest of the world in marking the International Day of Ending Crimes Against Journalists, even as cases of journalists facing different forms of crime continue to rise both locally and globally. Collins Lusweti with that story.
Statistics by UNESCO indicate that 1,200 journalists have died under mysterious circumstances between 2006 and 2020. According to the statistics, in 9 out of 10 cases, perpetrators of the vice walked away scot-free. Additionally, 73% of female journalists in the country have encountered physical and online harassment.
Personally, as a journalist, I have passed through na nimepitia hiyo harassment ya mapolisi, and this happened at a time when I tried covering a story during a time when the Saudi Arabian wars were really heated up. Kwa hivyo ni kitu ambacho kiliniudhi sana.
Cases of threats, violence and other forms of crime against journalists have been reported continuously in the country, with stakeholders now saying only 3 cases have been conclusively pursued in the courts.
Only 13% of cases recorded by UNESCO since 2006 are currently considered judicially resolved, which means there are still over 80% of the cases which have not been resolved from 2006 to date.
Media practitioners who have been subjected to these crimes have shared their experiences, terming the experience horrible.
Tumepitia changamoto nyingi. Mwaka 2018 nimekwenda kufanya taarifa kuhusiana na mambo ya utalii kwenye ziwa Turkana. Tukawa tumepigwa na watu, tukavamiwa na watu kwa dhana kwamba sisi tunaandika taarifa ambayo huenda kwamba inakisia kuleta picha mbaya kwa jamii.
In an effort to end the impunity against journalists, various stakeholders gathered today to deliberate on ways of creating a safer working environment for journalists and promoting freedom of expression. Chairman of the ICT Committee in the National Assembly, John Kiarie, and his counterpart in the Council of Governor, Wesley Rotich, have vowed to lead the struggle in ensuring journalists are safe in the line of duty.
We have to start with the prevention. We have to go into the protection. And where necessary, prosecution has to happen, and these offenders have to be brought to book.
The security organs in the country, which have time and again faced accusations of harassing media, have also promised to work with media stakeholders to create a safe and conduct media practitioners.
2nd November of every year is the day the world marks the International Day to end crime against journalists. And today different stakeholders, various stakeholders have gathered here to come up with ways and measures to ensure that there is a safe environment for journalists in the country to carry out their activities without any challenges and in a very safe environment. Collins Lusweti, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, moving on, barely a day after most parts of the country registered a blackout due to the Kenya Power technical hitch, mixed reactions arose among Kenyans, especially business people who entirely depend on power for their services delivery. Lucky Heriano visited various shops and filed the following report.
After a long blackout experienced across the country, and which caused Kenyans who entirely depend on power to run their businesses, some Kenyans have expressed disappointment after registering massive losses at their businesses. Gladys Kwamboka, a juice vendor here in Nairobi, has blamed the Kenya Power Company for its delay on responding to the issue, saying she has lost approximately 5,000 shillings during the blackout. She is now urging the power supplier to be swift once such incidents has occurred.
Kama wa leo, siku ya leo tumesumbuka sana na stima, ilikuwa imeenda, tukapata sama customer wengi hiyo masaa, tulihangaika sana. Tulikuwa tunaonelea kama serikali ama watu wa Kenya Power watuangalie, stima ikipotea at least wawe chap kuiangalia. Sisi kama sisi tunaathirika sana kama stima ikienda. So watu wakanjo wakikuja hapa hawataki kujua eti nini na nini, so nataka tunatoanga.
Job, a nail technician and a barber, has urged the government to provide small businesses with an alternative, decrying the high taxes imposed on electricity.
Tumeathirika sana kwa siku ya leo. We've lost a lot of clients. Vile stima ilienda, kazi mingi hapa tunafanya ni inahusika na stima sana, especially kukausha makucha. Tumepoteza pia like 6 clients. Kwa nywele pia tumepoteza clients. So we've really lost a lot. At least we need like a 1 week like in warning ama notification. At least tukae tukijua by next week hiyo stima itapotea, so at least tujipange.
Station yote na unatuambia 100 bob yako imebreakiwa down into taxation hii na hii na hii, tunaona levy fee, tunaona sijui nini, hizo zote ziko sawa, lakini tungeomba hizo nini za kitambo zirudi tena.
The Kenya Power Company, through a statement, has apologized over the blackout, saying it was a technical hitch that has so far been rectified. Lucky Heriano, reporting for TV47.
And some other issues. Gladys Chania, the main suspect in the murder of George Mwangi, has been formally charged with offense alongside her co-accused Maurice Mbugua. The two appeared before the Kiambu High Court, Judge Mary Kasango, and were charged jointly with murdering the late contractor who has since been buried. The court held that the accused planned and executed the act. The deceased was Chania's husband of 28 years. She'll now remain in remand at the Langata Women's Prison for the next 4 months until her application to be released on bail is heard, while his co-accused Maurice will be remanded at the Committee Maximum Security Prison. Commander-in-Chief of Kenya's Defense Forces, President William Ruto, has sent a Kenyan military contingent to join other East Africa's community states' militaries in restoring peace and stability in the affected areas of the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo. President Ruto reaffirmed Kenya's commitment in restoring stability in the war-torn areas of the mineral-rich DRC. This is President Ruto's first military deployment. TV47's Moige William with that report.
At the Embakasi Garrison, Nairobi, Tuesday, President William Ruto, Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, handed the Kenyan flag to Brigadier Jeff Nyaga, the commander of the Kenyan troops heading to Goma in the eastern region of DRC for a peacekeeping mission.
Always ready for mission.
And with singing and dancing, the army men received the flag, signifying that they were ready for the mission ahead. Kenya's contingent will be joining other military troops from Uganda, South Sudan, Burundi, and Rwanda under the umbrella of the East Africa Community Regional Force.
The deployment of a regional force in pursuit of peace and the activation of the East African Community Regional Force to forestall conflict is therefore legitimate.
This is the first military deployment for Ruto as the Commander-in-Chief. The mission to DRC was authorized by EAC heads of state during a summit on the 22nd of July 2022 to support DRC's armed forces in containing threats and disarmament of armed groups in the affected areas.
And it is our responsibility to confront criminals, terrorists, and all negative elements, including armed groups that terrorize our region.
The president called for concerted efforts from the other EAC states in a bid to restore peace and stability in the war-torn mineral-rich eastern region of DRC.
Under the banner of the East African Community Regional Force, you are confronted with the responsibility of demonstrating the African Union's clarion call, Africa Solutions to Africa problems.
The peacekeeping mission by the East Africa Community Regional Forces comes barely 7 months after DRC joined EAC, being its 7th state partner. War in DRC dates back to the late 90s, with several peace missions deployed to the region with little success to restore peace in the region. Kenya's military, flagged off by President William Ruto, now heads to the Democratic Republic of Congo with a mission to restore stability in the region. Moige William, TV47 from Embakasi Barracks, Nairobi.
Thank you for that, Moige. Now to some matters, banditry and all that. Samburu Governor Lati Leleiti has responded to the cries of herders at Lolesi and Samburu County who were displaced from their homes following an attack by heavily armed bandits. During the unfortunate incident, 2 herders were killed while 3 were injured. The northern leaders are now calling the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki to move with speed and restore peace in the region. The story was produced by Andrew Juma.
This is the current situation in Lolesi, Samburu County, where 2 people have lost their lives and 3 left nursing serious gun injuries after armed bandits attacked.
Kuja wakachukua mbuzi, wakaua watu. Tunatoroka, tuko na shida ya mali inakufa na njaa inakula watu. Tukatoroka hapo. Na kuja tunalala tu msituni. Unatafuta tu mahali watu samani waliishi, unalala hapo. Bara tu mbuzi ipate boma na watoto waingishe ndani ya nyumba ile ya samani.
Residents have traded accusations with other of being the main threat for the survival of their animals, as well as organizing severe attacks.
Siko njaa kila kitu, watu iko njaa, mali iko njaa, kwa shida mingi sana sisi Samburu.
The drought and hunger situation is believed to be the main cause of the conflict, where animals from the communities have been stolen while on the search for food and pasture.
Hakuna maji, watu wanaumia, na within the displacement ambayo tunapata bado tunapigwa na wakora kutoka county jirani. Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema kama viongozi, sisi ni watu tunataka amani, watu wetu waishi na amani, lakini lazima amani ipatikane katika kila county.
The leaders have said that security agencies have not been prompt in acting on threats and also alleged bias in dealing with theft of livestock.
Upande wa Samburu hatuna hata kambi moja ya askari, na serikali ni ya kila mtu. Tunataka kuomba serikali na tutafuatilia kambi pia zikwe upande ya askari. Kwa sababu haiwezi kuwa watu ya Isiolo ni muhimu sana, kambi zote za serikali zinapelekwa upande hiyo, halafu watu wetu hapa wanaumia. Saidi ni kuwa mbuzi tu ama ng'ombe ikifika upande hiyo, askari ya upande ile baadaye kuwa serikali na kurudisha, wanakuwa ni hawa ndio sasa wana protect hao wezi.
Samburu Governor Latile Lelit has accused National Police Service of being involved in theft of livestock and pointing fingers on the Isiolo County side.
Na nafikiri ni mambo ya polisi, na ni polisi wamechukua hiyo mali, na wengine sasa wao wenye hiyo mali wanakaa bila kitu kingine yoyote ya kutegemea.
Profesa Mheshimiwa Kindiki, sasa honeymoon imeisha, wewe ndio waziri. Tungependa kukuomba kama viongozi wa Samburu utoke kule Nairobi, ukuje uone ile shida watu wa Samburu County wanapitia.
Residents have now been forced to migrate with their children and animals, moving to safer areas around the region.
Ukiona ile tabu tumepata nayo hapa, raia wanatoroka, wanahama, na kiangazi hakuna maji, hakuna chakula, wamama na watoto wachanga. Yani ni kama watu wanaishi hata sijui ni maisha. It's such an undignified kind of life to live.
Now to some health matters. The number of COVID-19 cases appears to be on a steady rise over the past 1 week, with the positivity rate currently standing at 9.5%. And as Elizabeth Atieno reports, the rise in COVID-19 cases comes just days after the new health CS, Dr. Susan Wafula Nakhumicha, took over the health docket.
It is a pandemic that brought the global health system to its knees, with governments caught in a dilemma of saving both lives and livelihoods.
Talk about corona, it has been with us now for 2.5 years. The first case in the world was actually diagnosed in late 2019, November thereabouts 2019 in China. But again, even before then, we became vigilant ever since. We became vigilant, and we did a lot of risk communication and actually doing surveillance at all the ports of entry.
And now, Kenya might be forced to relive this nightmare if the latest COVID-19 numbers are anything to go by. On Tuesday, the 1st of November, 106 people tested positive for the virus from a sample size of 1,113 tested, raising the positivity rate to 9.5%. The total confirmed cases in Kenya now stand at 339,253, with a cumulative tests so far conducted standing at 3,919,622, and 5,678 being the cumulative fatalities. On Monday, the positivity rate stood at 7.5% after 34 cases were confirmed from a sample size of 452. On Sunday, the positivity rate was relatively low, with 35 cases being reported from a sample size of 1,841 tested, bringing the positivity rate to 1.9%. Ever since the outbreak of the pandemic, the COVID-19 vaccines have proven to be the silver bullet in combating the spread of the virus. The Africa Center for Disease Control and Kenya Red Cross Society have now launched a COVID-19 mass vaccination campaign in Kilifi County, targeting 8 counties to reduce the spread of the disease.
The SLL project revolves around a lot of pillars, and then it's very, very ambitious in that it aims to vaccinate 70% of the eligible population both at national level and at the continental level.
The vaccine is the one savior that we have today that will ensure we protect our communities, we protect our families, we protect each other generally. When everyone is vaccinated, then our community is generally safe.
If you're not vaccinated, you don't protect yourself, therefore you don't protect others. You don't protect others. Some of these measures of protecting yourself is actually protecting the people who are dear to you.
Over 1,200 community health volunteers will be trained on how to conduct door-to-door sensitization in the target counties so as to increase the number of those vaccinated from the current 36.2%.
It is our belief that with the plug-in of this number, there shall be massive, coverage within the communities here in Kenya, and which basically its ripple effect will increase, will lead to increase of uptake within the communities. Because one of the approach we are using is the door-to-door sensitization and directed community mobilization.
So far, Kenya has fully vaccinated 9.2 million of the adult population and 2.1 million are partially vaccinated. 2.7 million doses have been administered to the teenage population of those aged between 12 and 18 years, and 1.5 million of the population have received the booster dose. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Many thanks for that, Elizabeth Atieno. Now to some biting drought and the effects of it. The Ministry of Education has committed itself to distribute relief food to children in drought-stricken areas across the country. The program will also support children in informal settlements. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu has flagged off food that is going to reach over 2 million children in SL areas of the country.
The ravaging drought in Ganze sub-county in Kilifi County has threatened normalcy in schools. Children in the Early Childhood Development Education Department at Petangua Primary School are among the worst hit by the ongoing drought. Most of them go to bed hungry. Some survive by eating the fruits that they find in the wild for survival.
Nimetuma pesa za fee, nimetuma pesa za kalamu, nimetuma hivi, lakini changamoto ni kali. CBC basi tunapenda kama itawezekana serikali iondoe CBC. Kwa sababu sababu changamoto kukula huna tena, unatakana utoe pesa upeleke. Sasa hiyo pesa itapata wapi?
Upande wa walimu tungeomba walimu waandikwe, kwa sababu hivyo wakiwa wazazi wanakuwa na janga la njaa hawezi kumanage kulipa walimu kama sisi ambao hatujaandikwa. Kwa hivyo inakuwa ni ngumu. Mwezi huu unapata kama 2,000, mwezi ujao unakosa kabisa, walimu hawajapeana. Kwa hivyo inakuwa ni shida, ni changamoto kwa wazazi.
The government has stepped in and started distribution of relief food to schools in arid and semi-arid regions in the country, as well as informal settlements.
We want to make sure as a government that our school-going children have food. There are 2 modalities in which we give the school feeding program. One is cash transfer, and the other one is in kind. So the one we are giving out today, the lorries we are dispatching is in kind. We are dispatching 4,313 metric tons of rice. We are also dispatching 1,150 metric tons of beans, 147 metric tons of vegetable oil. We are also dispatching 57 metric tons of salt.
The consignment flagged off today will last a month.
This is a consignment that is supposed to last for 1 month, because each and every month we ensure that we send out these consignments. And each and every month, we don't want any one of our pupils to miss coming to school in the pretext that there was no food, because the government is going to be very regular in the supply of food.
Almost 30 counties in the country are affected by drought. In some areas, there are children who have dropped out of school as a result of hunger.
The number that we are catering for as of now is 2,500,000 school-going children all over the country. We are also covering informal settlements and the slums, apart from the 26 counties that we are covering as of now.
The National Drought Management Authority says the drought situation continues to worsen in 20 counties, and this is attributed to the 4 successive failed rain seasons, which puts the number of people in need of humanitarian assistance to over 4 million. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Well, thank you for that, Sharon Baranga. Now to a story that will be the backbone of our conversation this particular morning. Members of the Parliament have begun the quest to anchor the national government Constituency Development Fund (GCDF) in the Constitution in a bill co-sponsored by Matungulu Member of Parliament Stephen Mule and his Gishungu counterpart Robert Gishumu. The legislation also seeks to have the Senate Oversight Fund, National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and Economic Stimulus and Empowerment Fund anchored in the law.
According to the legislative piece co-sponsored by MPs Gishimu Gidinchi of Gishugu and Stephen Mule of Matungulu, this will ensure the critical role they play in promoting government projects and empowerment of vulnerable people is safeguarded, as well as ensuring that the funds are not misused and avert disruptions on technicalities of the law.
Economic building in this country. So, members, I want to urge you, as we debate today, we and my colleague, we want to hear your views, how we can improve on this so that we can get into the second stage, and I can assure you we are ready and we are equal to the task to amend the Constitution through parliamentary initiative without spending a single penny from the public.
Is that this matter will end up with both houses of parliament, then both speakers of parliament, should we reach the requisite 2/3 majority, will present the bill to the president for assent.
The National Treasury had announced it will not allocate monies to the NGCDF following the Supreme Court judgment that declared it unconstitutional. Parliament will also seek to enact the legislation to provide for operation of the Economic Stimulus and Empowerment Fund, whose objective will empower women, men, youth, and persons with disabilities. The quest to reintroduce NCGDF comes days after President William Ruto asked MPs to take measures to protect the 44.3 billion fund, to establish oversight committee for senators to oversight cash transfers to counties.
And I'm sure I speak for all the members here, we get no less than 100 phone calls of children who are at home because they cannot get bursaries. So it is not the members who are suffering, it is the people. I want to announce, Mr. Speaker, that the one thing that unites Kenyans, and I had the privilege to write this constitution, everywhere we went, the one thing people supported was the CDF.
To give, and it's not just giving, it's distributing. It feels so good, Mr. Speaker, when a young man comes and tells me, Madam Kihara, I went to school courtesy of your CDF and I'm working in this place. It feels very, very good. As we talk, calls are coming because these people need bursary.
Entrenchment of other funds in the Constitution is seen as move by MPs to woo their colleagues in the Senate to support their push. With regards to the NGCDF, the said proposal will be a national government fund consisting of monies of an amount not less than 5% of all the national government's share of the revenue.
You have many needy students who their education is almost wholly dependent on CDF. We have infrastructure for schools, which has been improved through CDF. So I think making it, putting it into our constitution to protect this very important fund is an obligation for this House.
CDF has made in the lives of ordinary Kenyans across the country. You would agree with me that anybody putting roadblocks on the path of NGCDF, anybody trying to outlaw NGCDF, anybody trying to make NGCDF in operation, anybody trying to make NGCDF not to come into operation, Mr. Speaker, is essentially an enemy of the people.
While overturning the Court of Appeal decision that upheld the CDF Act, the Supreme Court said it was unconstitutional to extend that it sought to extend national government's mandate to counties. The court held that the CDF Act of 2013 offends the division of functions between national and county governments. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, and this is one particular CDF that was ruled unconstitutional, and we'll be getting to the meat of it with the panelists this particular morning. Begi Gesicho, political analyst, and Honorable Kiruga Thuku, member of the County Assembly for Chinga Ward, in the studio right now. We'll be diving into that matter later on. But then, before that, now the ruling Kenya Kwanza has wrapped up its committee elections in the National Assembly in what critics described as a rubber stamping process. Kenya Kwanza chairs in the departmental and housekeeping committees were elected unopposed as President William Ruto's choice for committees leadership went unchallenged. This as Azimio postponed its watchdog committee elections to next week. Apollo Kamau reports.
3, 4.
On the final day of the Kenya Kwanza elections in the ruling party departmental and housekeeping committees, a section of Kenya Kwanza allied MPs from northern Kenya, unhappy with the party's choice, protested at the leadership positions now occupied by their colleagues from the Rift Valley and Mount Kenya regions, terming it a rubber stamping process.
Today, not happy that really my constituents and that of my colleague from Tarbaj are not represented. We are not part of this government from the beginning. Parliamentary committees, cabinet secretary appointments.
But their colleagues went on the defensive, terming the occupied slots as a party's agreed position, arrived at during Kenya Kwanza's parliamentary group meeting last month, factoring experience and regional balancing in the majority party.
What matters is the drivers of this leadership, and this can be able to attest that William Ruto has given us what we call goodwill, and that is why there are no battles, and most of the matters were prosecuted at PG levels.
During Wednesday's elections, Kenya Kwanza chairs and their deputies in 10 committees had an easy day as the party gears towards handling key outstanding issues. In the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, new chair and Tharaka MP George Morogara said IEBC reconstitution in the wake of Chebukati's tenure coming to an end in January is a priority.
The tenure of the chairman and 2 of the commissioners is coming to an end. We also have petitions that are pending in the parliament against the other commissioners, and as a result of which, as a committee, we have to move the speed and ensure that IEBC is in place and is actually able to discharge its mandate.
In the Trade, Industry and Cooperatives Committee, new chair and Embakasi North MP James Mwangi Gakuya has set his target on the regularization of the Hustler Fund and traders' wars in the city.
The head of state has pronounced himself on launching this particular fund by 1st December. And I want to confirm that anything that is required to be formulated from our side, as a committee, we will do and prosecute it as soon as possible.
In the Lands Committee, the emotive land question is high on the agenda as the committee gets down to business. Azimio MPs who are slated to conduct the elections in the watchdog committees on Thursday will now meet next week to allow housekeeping after some MPs protested about the slots. Apol Kamau, TV47.
And after a rigorous process of finding the best men and women to take to work in different government departments, in the just concluded search for principal secretaries, 51 principal secretaries have been nominated, with some presidents' allies who lost in the elections, among them Nixon Korir being rewarded heavily. And as Paul Kirobi reports, some PSs who served in Uhuru Kenyatta's government have retained, among them Bele Kipsang, Charles Singer, among others.
Outgoing permanent secretaries Belio Kipsang under the Ministry of Education and Charles Hinga, who worked in the housing docket, are among PS who worked under the Jubilee administration and will be making a comeback to join President William Ruto's elite team if approved by the National Assembly. Kipsang will now be working in the Ministry of Education but serving in the State Department for Basic Education, while Charles Hinga, if approved by the National Assembly, will be working in the State Department for Housing and Urban Development. Also in that ministry is former Lang'ata MP Nixon Korir, who lost in the Lang'ata parliamentary race in his bid for a second term. Julius Korir is set to head the State Department for Cabinet Affairs under the Office of the Deputy President, which is led by Rigathi Gachagua. Korir is currently in the Ministry of Devolution as its Principal Secretary, exchanging the ministry with Teresia Mbaika Malokwe, who will now spearhead the State Department for Devolution. The recent created Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary will have two Principal Secretaries, Esther Ngero, in charge of State Department for Performance and Delivery Management, and Aurelia Rono, in charge of State Department for Parliamentary Affairs. Former Nairobi Deputy Governor Jonathan Mweke, who is Ruto's ally, has been rewarded to serve in the Ministry of Youth, in the State Department for Sports and the Arts. The Ministry of Tourism, which is spearheaded by Penina Malonza, will have three principal secretaries, John Ololtua, Sylvia Nasea Muhoro, and Ami Mohamed Bashir. The Ministry of Defense has one PS slot, which will be filled by Patrick Mariro. The vetting of the PS is expected to commence after the conclusion of the elections of House Committees of the National Assembly. In a presidential action signed by the head of state on the 2nd of November 2022, the president states that the nomination list of the 51 names has been sent to the National Assembly for the consideration and approval by Parliament. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, thank you for that, Paul Kirobi. And this is actually one particular conversation we'll be having deeply, which covers both dailies, the Standard and the Daily Nation. And as I had told you, our panelist here, Begi Gesicho, political analyst, and also Honorable Kiruga Thuku, member of the County Assembly, Chinga Ward, on that. I'm being told that I'll be interacting with the gentleman later on. But then, and also, another pertinent issue to talk about this particular morning is the NGCDF fund, and send in your feedback, your questions to us. So far, how has this fund helped you? Do you want it to be continued, and all that? We'll be taking a look at that also, and also a little bit of the whole tax reforms and all that. I believe we can take a short break, then when we return we can have all this. Keep it right here.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday. Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians.
5 minutes to 7 a.m. and you're definitely watching Morning Cafe this beautiful Thursday chilly morning. And as promised before the break, we'll be having a whole discussion on matters in GOtv and the Ruto's 51 elite team that is in the permanent secretaries. And to help us dive into that matter is Begi Gesicho, political analyst, and Honorable Kiruga Thuku, member of the County Assembly Chinga Ward, who is on my right. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Right, welcome. So let's dive into the dailies right now. I believe on, we can start with the Standard right here. The Standard, Ruto's big gamble in People's Choice right there. So the whole big names now, it says in a delicate balance, President retains a few PSs for continuity, goes for fresh blood in young ones, rewards loyalists and political allies, but falls short on regional balance, gender and minority representation. Mheshimiwa, what do you make of this before we get into the whole list? Because, you know, the promises of having the 2/3 gender rule, being ensured. Seen in the CS expecting for the 51 names, for 51 slots, it might be achieved, but not yet.
Good morning, Stanley. Thank you very much for having me here this morning. I think, by and large, the president has done really well in his selection of the cabinet and the PSs. And I think he's almost there in terms of even of gender parity. And you know, the good thing is, or the tradition is, whenever a new administration comes into place, they appoint, when we go to elections and we elect a president, we give him the mandate to come up with his government. The area now that we shall be debating whether it is done well or not, it's on the area of delivery, right? So, and this is the norm, it's the practice world over. Go to the Obamas, to the Putins, the person people put in charge of their country he or she has a leeway to form his government, his or her government, which delivers to people. But I think our media at times sensationalizes these things.
On what specifically?
Because you see, now they are calling it Ruto's big gabo. Gabo in what? No, he's just doing what we elected him to do, right? And
gamble in the sense that 585 names, the whole, separating the wheat from the shaft, and cutting all these particular names from 585 to 51.
Yeah,
getting to know who fits in all this, because from the 585 names, they were qualified men and women. They were, let's say, most of them and all of them were qualified in all of the sense. So it was a whole gamble of knowing who is going to fit in the 51 list.
No, I don't think he gambled. He just did what the Constitution allows him to do. He picked his choices, right? And the Constitution allows him to do this. So, therefore, apart from that, what we are looking forward to, the president promised delivery to Kenyans. And as he picked the CSs, as he picked the PSs, that is the topmost thing in the president's mind. Picking men and women, good people who will help him deliver on the promises he made to Kenyans during elections. And those of us who campaigned with the president, we have no doubt and we fully support what the president is doing, and we have no doubt things will change positively in this country. That is my take stand.
Right. Gesicho, from 585 names, previously it was 477, but then PSC added some more names so that it can level the whole playground and ensure that everyone has been catered for. But then now from 585, whole rigorous process of interviewing them, then now to 51. He says it's not a gamble. What do you make of this?
Unfortunately, there are only 51 parastatals, PS's position. And the reality of life is, yes, so many could have qualified for the same, and so many would have the merit to fit in the same office. But unfortunately, the circle of life is there are people who will lose, and there are people who will gain. And in every, let me not call it a competition, but in everything we do, there's the people who come out first, and there are people who come up later. There's nothing as last. The mere fact that they were able to achieve and get themselves on that list of the 250 is a great deal, because they stand a big chance of, in any case, if there's need of preferably considering, in any case, there's a future change where other people are needed in the same position, they'll come from the same list. So it's a plus for those who participated in it. And it's also a plus for those who participated and didn't go through, but they learned something new anyway. And now they stand a better chance to be selected maybe in future for any other position. And in the whole gender topic,
this is one that the CS of gender, Margaret Kofi, has, she's disappointed in all this, looking at this particular list. And it was one of talking point in Ruto's campaign trail, saying that will ensure 2/3 gender role in 50% in his cabinet.
I don't think there's been any government that has really considered women like this government of His Excellency Dr. William Ruto.
Okay.
If we check at his cabinet appointees, he was able to give a good number of women into the cabinet. If you check in his political journey, he was able to mobilize and support many women into leadership positions to a level of we are able to have 7 governor ladies in this country. If you check on the list of PSs, he's been very, very, very careful with his choices. And you see, let's give it to him. Sometimes sitting on that seat, making the decisions that you need to make, calls for a lot of wisdom and calls for a lot of reasoning. His Excellency, the President, Dr. William Ruto, is best at what he does. And I cannot tell you that it's not a mistake, and it's not something that he was pushed to do. This is something he did knowing very well what he's doing for the interest of the country. Sometimes let's go beyond, yes, I may not say, I don't want it to sound like we are saying gender is not important. It's very important. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to leading a nation and leading a country, you need to give the best team a chance to assist you in leading the country that people expect results from you.
Without looking at either this is a man or a woman, having the best team.
We cannot say he's not looked at either this is a man or woman, but he's really considered a higher number of women. This is the only government that has really had a higher number of women in government. Right. That's not a lie. Ask the women around, they will tell you. He's really considered. And since time immemorial, even during the campaign periods of time, William has always supported women in many ways. And is among the people who, in this parliament of ours, who really pushed for women agenda, the third gender rule. So it was not supposed to happen in a day. It is something that will take time. It will be achieved. It's not something that he promised he will do in day one. But he said he will make sure that the 2/3 gender rule is achieved during his administration.
So we definitely have to wait for the whole Rome to be built in the whole continuous process, and all that. Mahesh, I've seen you quite smiling about all this. What do you make of this? Because, again, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a reaction either today, tomorrow, about, from, women leaders pinpointing all this and saying that we needed to see, more women faces in this 51 list.
It's not like the government is made up of PSCs alone. what the president is doing is consolidating all sides of his government. Remember, there are ambassadorial appointments, there are state corporations assignment, appointments. So eventually, the president will be able to balance his government, right? And so far, it is not like there are no women appointees in these slots. There are very many women there. Some of them very young, the likes of Mheshimiwa Musalia, right? And I wish to congratulate for this government. So the issue is the president has started the journey. They say Rome was not built in a day. So I'm 100% sure eventually the president will be able to bring together a government in those sectors whereby women will be fully represented, like has happened in the cabinet, like now has happened with the PSCs. So I don't think there is anything to worry about. Women will be taken very good care of in this government.
All right, and speaking of matters inclusivity, this particular list focuses on, I think we can have, a particular story was in the Daily Nation or the Standard. I think the Daily Nation looking at the whole regional balance, and it says 50% of cabinet positions, that is 11 out of 22, went to Mount Kenya and Rift Valley. 50.9% of principal secretary positions, that is 26 out of 51, went to Mount Kenya and Rift Valley, which now excludes one post for Turkana.
Now,
and leaders from other regions are complaining, saying, why was this list focusing on these areas mostly?
Stanley, there is something that the president said recently, and I just wish we...
During Mashujaa Day?
No, recently, during a church service, I think this was somewhere in Eldoret or thereabout. The president said, because people kept, this one wakes up, he says, oh, Mr. President, thank you very much for giving so-and-so a slot. He is from our region. The other one wakes up, Mr. President, thank you very much for giving us this slot. The president said, he didn't appoint any minister to serve his or her region. These are appointees to serve the government of the Republic of Kenya. So, the issue of, I don't know, this one comes from where, this one comes from where, the president went for expertise. The president went for people he believes will help him serve the agenda of this country. And I think they will perform very well. Look at someone like Mheshimiwa Patrick Maliro, and I wish to congratulate him. He's been an MP. He was a gubernatorial candidate. So, you expect that person, he has even been training us in MCA seminars. You expect such a person to bring expertise, to bring value to President Ruto's government. Look at someone now from our area called Wachira, Alex Wachira, whom again I wish to congratulate. You see, he has been given job where he fits because that is the department, the sector he has been working in. So the thing is this. The opponents will always try to create issues. Oh, I don't know this one here or that one there. But if I'm telling you, the most important thing is that it is not about the region you come from. It's not about the tribe you come from. It's a high time we approached issues as Kenyans. Definitely, even if it were you, Stanley, who was forming the government. You wouldn't go for people who would come and sabotage your government. You go for people you are sure will come and serve the interests you have. And President Ruto's interests have been variously stated as simply making sure this country is developed. Look, even to debunk this discussion about I don't know which region was ignored, I don't know about what. Look at this seat about the PS Interior. It went to Aruo. Look, you see, as it were, the main opponent of the President Ruto is from that region. So let's wait for the president to roll out his government. And as I said before, the most important thing and what we will be looking out for is his government delivering or not. Because what is the importance of even, you spread people all over, then you bring a government that is not working. No, Kenyans wouldn't be happy with that. But this government, right? So far so good. You see? And you see, even if, for example, let me use the example of myself. I come from a certain region in my ward, right? But I'm not in that seat to serve the interest of that area alone. I have a diverse area and I serve my area uniformly. You see? So, these people who have been selected by the president to assist him in leading this country, they are not there to serve the interest of their regions. No. If, for example, like Honorable Maliro, he's the PS Defense, and he comes from Laikipia. So do you want to tell me he will be working in that docket just to focus on Laikipia where he wanted to become a governor? Mm-hmm. No. In fact, his efforts might be very much concentrated elsewhere.
If we continue arguing on this issue of regional balance, we will stick there for a very long time. Like Mheshimiwa again, he's also gone back to the tradition of telling for disappointment. You've taken yourself back to that unconsciously. So basically, what I'm trying to say, the president did not appoint Raymond Omolo because he comes from where Raila comes from, or from Luo. He appointed Raymond Omolo because Raymond Omolo qualifies, fits, and is well thought for that seat. Basically, what I'm trying to say, any appointment that has been made by the head of state, I will assume or presume it's for the interest of the Kenya at large, not the very few people who people want to see as regional. You see, we might want to change the narrative and make it look like this region was not considered and that region, but that's not the key interest. The key interest is, are the people picked by the head of state able to serve? And then again, where's the loss? It's only 51 days into government. In any case, if they don't perform, we still have a long time for more regions to get a chance, or more people from other regions to replace those who are sitting in. So I don't think there's cause for alarm. Let's allow him to run his government the best way. We gave him the mandate to be the head of state, and actually let's have faith in his decisions.
And actually the CSs have, I think, 18 months or so.
18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, then the president can again look at this. But then now on that again, because you do say that the president handpicked these names because they're qualified. There's the whole issue of rewarding his political allies, yes. And those who stick around are reaping the fruits of this. Yes. And just to pinpoint some of those names. Omalangata MP.
I know you want to talk.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely a whole list of this. Basically, rewarding political allies. This is one issue that has been looked at in the dailies. What do you make of this?
There's nothing wrong with the president picking friends who are able to deliver before.
Is it a whole issue of I trust these people?
It's an issue of delivery.
But they went through vetting.
It's an issue
of PSC.
It's an issue of delivery. It's an issue of the competence. If it's an issue of the ability of the person to be able to handle the responsibility that they are given within the law and with all the Chapter 6 on consideration. And talking of Nixon Korir is a young guy who is aggressive and smart, and he knows exactly what he's focused. He has all the takes to sit in that position. But then again, in all these nominees that have been given to the committee for vetting, it's again entirely up to the committee to see who they may choose according to expertise or the questions or whatever criteria they're going to use to pick who to work with and who not to work with. My prayer is whatever the decision the committee makes this time around does not turn to be like what happened in the cabinet secretary.
I was actually coming to that because
honestly, I want to to appreciate the committees for what they do. At the end of the day, they are the people who are sitting down with these nominees and picking the best for the team. I'm not saying the president did not pick the best, but the reason why the president sends them to the vetting is to affirm or confirm if his choices are good enough. If not, it's okay to change or replace.
Yeah.
What Parliament did to overrule the decision of the committee was not right. Yes, they have a right to do that, but you see, again, it demystifies what the purpose and the reason for the committee. I believe they are supposed to be there to scrutinize these candidates that come to them for specific position if they are up to task. We should really be keen on that, because I was on a panel with Honorable Lesuda, and she asked a valid question. Then what's the point of having this committee if the decision we make is not going to be honored, it's going to be overruled? Then it's as easy as let the president appoint and the names be taken up. So yes, let's take note.
Basically avoiding a whole conveyor belt.
Yeah, so it's only
giving
fair.
the names and telling the members ask tough questions. Then after you're done, ask tough questions.
But then again,
pass them.
If I may, let me just finish this. But then again, the president rules by the rule of law. He will not want such a thing to happen. In fact, it's not something that he thinks about, that any appointee he nominates should just be picked up and run. He would give a chance to the committee fairly to decide. And I'm not putting this on the president, but I'm asking the parliamentarians. Yes, they have that authority to really consider, at least sometimes go through the decision that has been reached by the committee, to the reasons why this one has been picked and this one has not been picked.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, but there I wish to differ. I wish to differ with my brother and friend Begging Sisho. With me, I fully support what Parliament did, right? And you remember, even during the
basically having a whole unanimous decision of not adding Penina Malonza in the yes list, and then later on having a turnover of
yes, by Parliament. I support that. I support what Parliament did, because you see all these things.
These are the same MPs that the people chose. So what does that represent?
No, that it is part. You see, what the committee did was right, because it was within their mandate. Again, what
of adding Penina Malonza in the yes list or generally overlooking the graft cases that were in there and all that.
No, which graft cases? There is nobody who has
technically, technically, it's a roadside declaration, a factual roadside declaration or a false roadside declaration. But then, away, be it as it may.
Stanley. My problem is, I know this country very well. You know now I've been around. You know that and even if you trace the source of that comment or allegation, it comes from our opponents, right? And so if it is allowed to go on, those people will start fighting our ministers even before they settle, right? So having a vision, projecting what we would want to achieve, should not be in any way be called roadside declarations.
And be it as it may, and still on matters, having visions and all that, and actually the captain, as you call him, the president of this country, William Ruto, said that his government will not start new projects until the stalled projects of the Jubilee government are completed. And this is going to be quite a key entry in most of the CSs, right, Beggy?
Yeah. You see, where we are right now as a country, in fact, our key concern is not projects. Our key concern is production. The president has been talking about production for the longest time, because how do we revive our entire economy? How do we revive our entire system? How do we increase the tax base? How do we improve the life, reduce the cost of living? It goes back to production. So it would be a lie if the government rather says that they want to go for new projects. That is not the ambition. The ambition is to give Kenyans the best of the lives they want to lead. And I would really agree with government with that decision of not thinking of other projects, but continue with the existing projects to completion. Remember, the government is as well raising funds for other things. We have the drought issue, which is really hurting our people at large. And for the longest time, I had a gentleman who was older and wiser than me saying the last time they saw such a drought was in the 80s. So I can imagine the number of livestock people have lost, the number of lives that Kenyans have lost. I know it was very sad, Mheshimiwa, that I saw in the newspaper the other day that we have lost 109 elephants in the East Savo. It's a great tragedy. So yeah, new projects are not a concern for now. The greatest concern at this moment is how to stabilize and reduce the impact directly to Kenyans. The president made promises that he needs to see come to life, and he is very careful at the decisions he's making. That is why priority has to change. A lot of people have been attacking the president for changing talk. You said this during the campaign and you're saying this now. Times are different, moments are different, and the reality checks in that we have prioritized. We have to prioritize one instead of 10 to be one.
So basically double speak is normal.
There's no double speak. There's no double speak. That's why you get it wrong. Okay, let's have a candid conversation. Okay. Let's assume the president came in and decided to do the things he said he wants to do. Will Kenya sustain itself? Where did he pick the economy of the country? When they got in, Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, mentioned a figure that had been left in the government coffers. Would they be able to do anything with that amount? It comes down to reality. Yes, this is what I want for this country. This is my will. I sincerely wish this for this country. But at this moment, this is where we are. Do we adjust? Yes. It's only a fool who doesn't change his mind. It is only a fool who does not change his mind. So let's in fact appreciate the president for even realizing that, by the way, as much as this is the dream, do we have to go for the dream or fix this issue to be able to achieve the dream in the long run? What people are forgetting, it's not about all the time going for short-term solution. Sometimes it's good when you go for a longer-term solution. Yes, you will find interventions in between to keep sustenance ongoing, but that does not rule the fact that you have to think of what is the permanent solution to this problem. People are talking about the fuel subsidy. They never understood why that decision was reached. But then again, you see, there's no way you will cure an ailment with a short-term decision, forgetting the longer journey. So what the president has done and in his decisions that he has made, if you ask me, they are the right on course. The effects may not be felt today, but trust you me, in the matter of time, Kenyans will appreciate the decision that he took.
Right. Mahesh, as you chime into this, I want us to finalize on the whole cabinet, his elite team and all that. And I want us to bring in the whole controversial topic of CS as chief administrative secretaries. And it was ruled unconstitutional. But then we had to see if...
it wasn't ruled unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. The previous predecessing government, it had an issue. The issue was it had no exact responsibility tagged to it. It had no, let me say, it had no jurisdiction.
But they had to rule it unconstitutional.
Yeah, because of that reason. Yeah. But now you see, it went back to
this had not been allocated properly for the CESs. But there is something I wanted to agree with first on what Begi was saying. Mm-hmm. The president, and we were in these meetings with him, we accompanied him to various areas campaigning for his government. Now he has formed it. You know, our president has very good intentions. You know, it is good to say this so that to those who don't know can understand. We know him in person. And he means what he says, and he says what he means. But then again, you know, leadership, you know, it is just like a journey. Stanley, you are here. You come from where? Kisumu? Anyway, you say you want to go home, or you want to go to, let's say you want to go to Mombasa. But then again, you don't contend, you may find a broken bridge, right? You will have to first deal with that issue of the broken bridge. You know whether you call for a helicopter to come and airlift you, but there is no way you will go and swim there. You will be carried away by the waves. So the issue is this: nobody knew there would be such a severe drought that is wreaking havoc left, right, center.
So basically, 50 days so far, the drought has been one factor that has reduced.
You know, that is like, it is like fire.
Rather slowed down Ruto's...
Not one factor, brother. A great factor.
No, I'm saying one of the main
major
factors.
Because you see, the government have had to put everything else to stop so that Kenyans don't die of hunger, right? And the president said, if there is one thing his government cannot do, is watch. He said he doesn't want to hear even a single Kenyan have died because of hunger, you see? And he said even governors, they should consider putting everything else on hold to first save lives. We thank God, at least it have started raining. You know, even in very many other aspects, for example, nobody knew we would come and encounter an official gang which had been licensed by the government to be killing our people. And I can tell you, you know, those of us who are supporting Kenya Kwanza, we were major cap targets of that gang. Even God is great. These people didn't win the election. That gang would still be there hunting us down. God is great. We defeated them. They should go away completely. These people are killing Kenyans, right?
But back to the whole...
my point was this. You know, it is like you want to do something. Fire breaks out. So the government is first dealing with putting out these fires, the extrajudicial killings, the drought, you know. Then we can settle properly and start dealing now with the issues of development for Kenyans. But so far, so good. We are doing very fine. And one thing I can tell you is this. On this thing of, you know, we are rushing to call everything as constitutional, CSS unconstitutional, you know. And the media there doesn't play a very good role because, you know...
Why though?
They hype these things now like CDF. CDF, do you know it is not even constitutional?
We'll actually come to that, and basically this
on the issue of the CSS, so that I can conclude.
In the next hour we'll talk about the whole CDF largely.
Yes.
Now I want us to focus right now on the CS.
On the issue of CSS and PSS, congratulations to President William Ruto. He has given us a very good team, and I have no doubt, I'm 100% sure, this is a team that will serve this country very well. And I've told you, even us who are in the county governments, we will depend on this team to unlock some of those issues we are seeing, affecting our people. So let me finish here, Becky. I'm saying this. There is nowhere in these appointments where the president has gone out of, has not met his mandate. He has done everything that is within his mandate. And so the jury is still out. Let people relax. This is the government of Kenya, and this is the president has done what Kenyans entrusted him to do. And I want to repeat, the world over, presidents are allowed to come up with a lineup they believe will help them execute their mandate as given by the people. So si watu watulie, serikali ianze kazi.
And speaking of the whole watu watulie, it's going to be a wait and see for this CS, and we're definitely waiting for a whole list from the president who is going to be there. But then, as again, the High Court ruled it unconstitutional. You gave the whole reasons.
You see, even before I jump into that, let me just correct something Mheshimiwa must have said, bahati mbaya. The government is not on hold, and it has not put any project on hold because of what is happening. They have only prioritized that this is the challenges we are facing immediately, so let's give it a bit of priority. But the rest of everything else is running as planned according to how the president will see which one to prioritize and where and how.
Okay.
Going back to the issue of the CASS, there's nothing wrong. The problem initially was that it did not go through the procedure that it needed to go through, public participation. But keenly, if you look 3 or 4 weeks back, the president, there was an advert by the PS, Public Service Commission.
I actually have it right here.
Yeah, they notified.
Yeah, just for the viewers and the understanding of it, says the Commission CEO, Dr. Simon Rotich, in an update on the PSC website on that particular day, that is the 12th of October, say that suitably qualified Kenyans have until the 27th October 2022 to submit the applications, and it had actually opened the whole window of public participation for this.
There was another one before that where they involved the public to participate, to give their opinions on the value of having the CASS as per the constitution, that is required by the constitution, and that exactly happened. And by the time the Public Service Commission is again giving another advert asking Kenyans to participate in application of the same position, it means the threshold has been followed and has been abided by as per the law. The only thing that brought a hitch is the Law Society of Kenya went to court questioning the issue of the CASS. And that is why you see the president called for a meeting with the heads of the Law Society of Kenya, and they resolved the issue. So I don't think it's a big fuss. I don't think it's alarming. And right now the responsibilities of the CSS are well spelled out. The key responsibilities of the KSS is to be a liaison between the CS and the Parliament, in any case, and any other responsibility given to them by the cabinet secretaries. So I would say there's harmony and there's constitutionalism that needed to be followed then.
So that
has been done now.
Know that the fact that the public participation has been done, all is set for having the CSS?
I believe so. And there's no way the Public Service Commission would advertise if they have not followed all the due procedure that is required by law. Because again, we would go back to the same thing. They'll be named, again, someone will go to court and stop them and all these things. So it had to be done right. Like I said, His Excellency the President, Dr. William Ruto, likes doing things according to the law. He did not impose. He did not wake up and say, I'm the president, hey, things have to go this way. No. He said, what can we do about this? This needs to be done the right way. What is the right way? Constitutionally. So follow it. And that is why we are where we are discussing that issue now.
All right.
Yeah.
And Mahesh, still on the whole CS, should the president wait for, because the High Court is yet to, on the whole case filed by the LSK, and so should the president wait for? I
think the case was withdrawn, if I'm not wrong. I'm not so sure. It could be not yet withdrawn, but I think the case was withdrawn by
it was set for hearing on the 24th of October.
Yeah, one thing the president has said, and you can see the president have started very well. is that the government will respect independent institutions, the decisions of independent institutions. So what I believe is, if there is an ongoing court case, the president will abide by it. And because, as my friend Beg keeps saying, it was that there was no public participation, this time it has been done. There were no clear rules of the CSs, now they are well defined. So eventually, if the final decision is that these CSs will be there, I tend to believe, again, the president will get a chance of bringing on board people who will help in service delivery in this nation. Because let us not just see these positions as just positions. No. These are positions that are supposed to add value to service delivery to the common monarchy. That is it. So eventually, I trust whichever way it goes, and if they are allowed to, the government is allowed to go ahead and recruit the CSEs, I believe the president will bring on board people who will help him in service delivery.
All right.
So let us wait.
Right, and even as we wait also, as we conclude this particular conversation, there's the whole paradox of having more state officers, rather the whole state officers of CASs, and then having little money in the coffers. So this has been quite a controversial topic, Mahesh.
No, you see, it is just like the way it used to be. At times, we have made a great strides in, increasing revenue collection. Look, even when the country was getting very little in terms of collection of taxes and what have you, we had ministers, we had assistant ministers. In fact, I remember back then, we had a very bloated cabinet with assistant ministers who, almost half of Parliament was made up of ministers and their assistants. It has now been moderated, you see. So what we are saying is, people will always try to bring arguments, there are so many, I don't know what. But anything, I think all of us are agreed, these CSs will enhance service delivery, right? That is even why the former president saw it fit, to include CSs in his governance structure. Now, the current president agrees. He says, well, these CSs can add value to service delivery. So, because there is that hitch about I don't know what and what, that is what he wants to be resolved. So, let us not just come here, we just want to hammer the government of William Ruto. Because, let me tell you something, Stanley. There are people out there who are still very bitter. Because they still believe William Ruto should not have been the president of Kenya. Well, excuse me, he is the president.
Before.
Yeah, it is not even about, there is nothing about the issue of CASs. The issue of this you are calling here gender balance. The issue of I don't know where CASs come from. It's just a scapegoat. They are just bitter. And it is a time they accept the reality. William Ruto is the president of Kenya, and God willing, he will serve these years, and we shall even vote him back. What is the problem? So, it is the decision of Kenyans.
The whole paradox of the state officers versus little money in the coffers. What do you make of this?
Government knows exactly what it's doing. And again, I'm not an accountant specialist, but I would say by the time government takes a step in a certain direction, I'm sure highly considerations have been made, and it's been checked that it's sustainable. And then again, it's not a new thing. It's something that has been there before since 2015. It's only that it was unconstitutional. If you realize in all these arguments, nobody has complained about their pay. They have only been complaining about the unconstitutionalism of the CASs. But then again, the head of state has an entire team If the title cabinet assistant secretary is the problem, he's in a place where he can decide to rename it and give it another name and allow it to go through the process that it needs to go constitutionally. So let's look beyond. There's one thing I'll agree with Mheshimiwa. All we are going through, all the government is going through right now, let me say all Kenya Kwanza is going through right now, is the disbelief by the other team that lost. But that is not the topic of discussion. The issue is they will find any angle to demystify whatever the government intends to do. They will find any opportunity to taint black, gray, whatever color they feel suit in whatever the government is trying to do. And you know, in reality, Stanley, it's 51 days since President William Ruto has been elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya. But they are talking as if he's been there for 5 years. It means the President has an impact and they are feeling it. It means their hope was he fails, but he's not failing. So what do they have to do? Find something that will make him look not achieving. What is the immediate thing? Go back to his promises during the campaign time and tag it onto him. You said this, why are you not doing this? You see, this is the easiest avenue. They are so far away attached to the reality of what is happening currently. Yes, they have their senses, and yes, they know there's drought. Yes, there's a challenge of Kenyans are suffering of food and all these things, which is an immediate agenda. But they will put that aside and still push this angle of making the head of state look not a man of his word. On the contrary, Kenyans are seeing that this guy is able to change his moves very fast within the shortest time possible, deal with the issues that are affecting Kenyans immediately as he continues finding solutions to the larger problems and the promises that he gave to this country. Then periodically.
At the end of the day, the president says that he wants a strong opposition, and we are quite seeing.
Is that strong, really?
Actually,
it's not factual. In fact,
basically, I want us now to get into that before we take a short break. The whole strong opposition on that, and Azimio leader Raila Odinga said that he will mention shadow cabinet. So we'll have to take that short break. Then we start on that. The whole forming a opposition. You raised quite an pertinent opposition. Is it strong enough? Now, you definitely. Before we'll hold that thought. We'll answer all that after the short break. Keep it right here at Morning Cafe. Don't go too far.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday. Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business. Farming. Tasty Wednesday.
Right, thank you for just staying with us right here at Morning Cafe, some 3 minutes past 9 a.m. and definitely holding fort with the panelists right here, Begi Gesicho, political analyst, and Honorable Kiruga Thuku, member of the County Assembly of Chinga Ward. And we've been discussing matters, the whole cabinet and President William Ruto's elite team, and quite a pertinent issue came up before the break, the face of opposition. And Azimio leader Raila Odinga said he'll mention his shadow cabinet to keep the new cabinet, on toes in everything they say. And now on that, actually, before the whole cabinet is mentioned, Kalonzo Musyoka, Wiper Party leader, said that he accuses Ruto of unilaterally making policy decisions such as disbanding Special Services Unit at DCI. This story is on page 6 of the Standard. And gentlemen, I think, Begi, before we went to the break, you're asking how strong is this opposition? And now I think I'll have to mirror it back to you, gentlemen, and ask, okay, before, after the whole elections, Azimio leader Raila Odinga was in the shadows, and then we will see Kalonzo Musyoka, Wiper Party leader, making the press briefings. And then later, we'll see Azimio leader Raila Odinga on the streets, with people and all that. And now we can see both of them attending meetings. So how basically now, back to you again, how strong is this opposition? And are we having a whole strong opposition?
The strength of an opposition is not by retorting what the president said. The strength of an opposition is determined by the challenges that the comparison that they give to what the government is supposed to do against what the government is doing. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they are yet to consolidate themselves and be that strong opposition that they used to be, and we'll give it to Raila. He's been a good checkmate, yeah, and I hope he still has the zeal and the will that he had then to be the opposition leader that he was, that rightfully fought for the interest of Kenyans, and that's why you see even the current president William Ruto was solidly behind him then. You see, again, if we go to the fact of what has His Excellency, the former Premier, Kalonzo has said about SSU, it's none of his business, and it's not something we would even I would want to discuss here, because it's beyond who I am, and it's beyond what I can discuss. But
then
on a political view,
on first speak, he's also Kenyan.
He's just surviving.
He needs to
He's looking for a political face to survive. He's just looking for airtime to be relevant. We're in political. He's looking for a space if he's going to get any in the opposition. And like I say, and like I always say, Raila's team does not regard Kalonzo. They do not regard Kalonzo at all. And why I'm insisting on this is, you remember last time before he made the decision to join either party, they said whether he joins them or not, they really have no need of him, you know. So he's trying to survive and seek relevance, and he's trying to position himself as the next big thing in the opposition side to be considered for the future. That is why he has to mention a few things. Like he talked about GMOs, but he really said nothing about GMOs. He just said GMO, it's bad, and that's it. He didn't give us reasons why is it bad. What do we give as an option of GMO? And you see, that's the entire responsibility of the opposition. When you attack the government, please come up with a tangible, reasonable difference. That this is what we are saying. It is wrong. This is what we are saying. is right. Let the Kenyans compare and say you're doing something. That's why I'm saying at the moment, though, the guys who have seen reason and speak well and already in the mood of the opposition is the member of parliament, the brother of the late Kajwang, I'm forgetting his name. It sounds like a gentleman who knows what the opposition is. And
actually, I'll come to that. Having successes and all that. Hesh, the captain said that he wants a strong opposition. Is he getting what he asked for?
Well, I want you to allow me to go back a bit. There is something very important that Beggy here was saying about the 51 days of President Ruto's rule. And if you can actually even enumerate. Because this needs to come out, because it's like, we have a very funny opposition which thinks that nothing has been done, which is a lie. Credit of President William Ruto and his government. Immediately he put the Bible down. He appointed President Uhuru Kenyatta as a peace mediator in Ethiopia and this region. That one may look insignificant, but it was a very important bridge, and this is a president who exhibited no ill willings against the leadership that, of course, we know all that they were doing towards him. 2, he immediately signed into law, the independence of the police department. They will not now be beholden. They will not be beholden to the office of the president for their funding. Immediately, he swore in judges who were, whose appointment was in abeyance. They couldn't go back to their former positions. They couldn't move forward. He swore them in. You see? And he has come, about 10 to 15 key and very important decisions he has made that touches on the fabric of governance in this country for the better, including disbanding that, that group that was killing Kenyans, helter-skelter, for no good reason. Yes. So, this is a president who is working, and he has been doing all these things even when he didn't have the cabinet. So, with the cabinet in place, with the PSS in place, things will only get better. Now, to come to this issue you are talking about, number one, what we have seen, the opposition we have seen, in fact, you can understand and actually sympathize a bit with them. Losing an election is not a very sweet thing. It's not a very good thing.
You've really driven that point
home. No, you see, it's a fact. Ask even an MCA who have lost a seat.
I know.
I have seen it's very painful. So these guys had been told, and even they were saying, before people are with us, but the deep state was not with us. So now with the deep state in our side, we are winning this thing. They were told you are winning. Now, all of a sudden, and they applied all the dirty tactics, in this world.
The hustlers won.
The hustlers won. And we kept telling them, the real deep state is God and the people. And they would insult us, untold insults. They would tell us we are even pretending we have Deputy Jesus in our team. Now, these people we sympathize a bit. And you see now the tragedy of it all. When they start talking, they make it even worse. Because the president has pronounced himself. And he has said this government, it doesn't matter whether a region voted for this government or not. He will lead a government that will serve all Kenyans equally, all regions equally. That is why you even saw the president going for a church service in Homa Bay, which is Raila Odinga's stronghold. Now what are they telling us? Now, after the president has pronounced himself so clearly, Raila Odinga comes up and goes to Western. And he's just saying this just now to seek relevance. He says if this government does not bring development to this area, I'm going to tell my supporters not to pay taxes. That's hot here. This government, the president has said, will serve all Kenyans.
Agreed.
Whether you supported us or not, we will bring development to your area. That is what the president has said. So, now these guys, they are just being the usual inciters that they are. They just want to incite Kenyans against this government. But they will fail. This is a family-grounded government. And you see the good thing with this government, starting from our captain, we have great trust in God. You see?
But then at the end of the day, a government needs checks and balances.
Of course, there is no problem, but you cannot shake a government using lies and pure and mere propaganda.
How best should the checks and balances be done? Because when you look at now the opposition that is coming up, or rather the minority that is coming up, they have been in this. For
let us agree on this, Stanley, because you are also a Kenyan, as much as you are a journalist. Have you heard the president saying he will serve all Kenyans equally? Yes, you have. Right? Yes. So, if you have heard that, I've heard that, everyone have heard that. The issue of these issues these guys are bringing are neither here nor there. They are just trying to incite Kenyans. And the good thing with Kenyans, and you saw it after elections, it is not very easy to incite them now to violence. You see? On flimsy grounds. Kenyans have agreed. His Excellency William Ruto is the president of Kenya. His Excellency William Ruto has said, and I want to hammer this point home clearly. He has said the Kenya Kwanza government will serve all Kenyans just the way you saw with Mzee Kibaki. Mzee Kibaki didn't come to do those dirty things Kanu was doing. You know, during Kanu's time, Kanu would come here, it would bring polls, electricity polls to Kipipili. Vote for my guy. The people would say, no, we are voting for a Democratic Party candidate. The very next day, those polls would be corrected. I think, in what we call in Kiswahili, kasuba. Nafikiri wale viongozi wa upinzani wako bado na hiyo kasuba. You know, Kalonzo was in Kanu for very long. Raila at some point went there. Now they think things are still being done in that old fashion. A brand new president who is very keen on doing things in a different way. And for your information, me and Beggy, right, are privileged to know the president in person. And like I said here before, if you hear President William Ruto telling you he will do this, trust you me, that is what he will do.
Okay.
If when you hear President William Ruto saying this government will serve all Kenyans, whether they are Luos, whether they are Kikuyus, whether they are Mijikenda, whether they are Kalenjins,
or Kisis,
or Kisis, or all the other
where I come from, by the way.
Yeah. So let the opposition guys organize themselves. That is not the kind of opposition we expect. It's like when we were growing, we were being told there are guys who oppose everything. Even when they go to the toilet, instead of using the right way, they tell you don't go there, go to the wrong place.
Gentlemen, I want us to focus on now to the CDF topic. But then now before that, just to quick one here, the ODM boss has revealed that he's not about to hang his political boots until he realizes his dream to liberate the country, signaling his early 2027 political plans. Beggy, there have been calls that the Azimio leader Raila Odinga should now start grooming somebody to take up from him. Probably on your where you sit. Who do you think? And you actually mentioned someone, but then now there's a whole long list right there. And what should we be seeing from this?
I didn't mention that person because I think Raila will groom him. We all know that Raila will not let go that seat unless otherwise. And the otherwise we all know is unless the otherwise. There is no any otherwise. Unless he's not able to be in that position, unless he's not able to move around or coordinate well, he's not going to relinquish that seat. But there's so many other people below or around him who can really serve well. And it's just a matter of time. You know, if there's something you can't cheat his time, and change is something that is also permanent. And then again, just to go back to the opposition issue you were mentioning, Let me tell you, William Ruto, as the President of the Republic of Kenya, is a very fair gentleman, and we respect him for that because he likes critics. The problem is it positive critics. So trust you me, even without the opposition being as crucial as they need to be, Team Kenya Kwanza has a lot of positive critics, and we will criticize ourselves from within when something goes wrong. Because, you know, this government, this country is for all of us, and this country belongs to all of us. And if the president with all intention has the goodwill that we all know he has, there's no doubt that he's going to fail in his responsibilities. But then again, even if there's a go-slow in one way or another, I'm sure we have guys who would, in one way or another, find a way of criticizing. I don't know, the issue of Raila, my brother, leaving the opposition, well, it's a long call. It's only God who knows when, because it's only rightful. You know, I've grown up and I reached an age and I realized, like, our parents were pushing some responsibilities towards us. I've not seen Raila doing that to his mentors. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, keeps saying it is our responsibilities as senior politicians to mentor young politicians all the time. And that is why you see he's very mandateful. He will mandate a responsibility or assignment to someone, allow you make your mistake so that you'll be able to learn right by doing the right thing, or by doing the wrong thing, learning the right way. There is no mistake in learning and learning and learning. That's what I would say about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's whole. Mahesh, do you have anything to add to that before we jump into the
Let's
CDF?
go to the CDF. Because that one we have believed at that point. The government is in place and it's working well.
Right.
Let the opposition organize themselves properly, not to come up with the kind of things. You remember, this is the same opposition which was going with balls in the street there to raise funds to overthrow the government of Uhuru Kenyatta. I hope they won't go back to those tactics again.
Stanley, just before we go, there's something very important you raised about Nordin Haji. Whatever is happening around Nordin Haji is not something that should scare Nordin Haji. Martha Karua will always be Martha Karua. Anytime the opposition finds a way of pinning you down, they will always do that. Now they're blaming him for doing his work. Now they're blaming him for not considering the Kenyans. He considered Kenyans by doing his work. And I don't think so far if there's anything wrong Nordin Haji has done. If you ask me, the Director of Public Prosecution has worked within his mandate to see the best way to move forward. And then again, Stanley, we will not sit down and deny ourselves the fact that injustices were not done. They were done before. Injustices were done before. So Nordin Haji is fine and it is correct.
Right.
Yeah, let him serve his tenure and finish his tenure, and we appreciate his services.
All right, now I want us to jump into the whole...
before you leave there, you know, guys, okay, so just a small input. You know, look at who is fighting Nordin Haji.
Martha Karua.
Yes. Why? Because Nordin Haji is saying, fine, he doesn't support what these people are doing. You see? So, and it seems that the former CID boss was doing the bid, the dirty bid of the former government. So, people should relax. And as Beggy says, witch hunting is not good, right? And you know they are targeting Nordin Haji because now he has said if there is no evidence, he cannot prosecute people. Because they were trying to dirtify our CSCs, even the deputy president. But you see, Jubilee, what Jubilee was doing, it was not following the rule of law.
because of time, we will definitely have this whole discussion later on. But then I want us now to jump into the whole topic of National Government's Constituency Development Fund and GCDF. But then now, before we actually dive into this matter, I want us to listen to some sound bites of Stephen Mule, the Matungulu Member of Parliament, who brought this particular members of Parliament trying to have this debate in the Parliament, and also the former CS Treasury Kuriatani way back. Director, if you can have that, then we continue with this conversation.
According to the legislative piece co-sponsored by MPs Gishimu Gidinchi of Gishugu and Stephen Mule of Matungulu, this will ensure the critical role they play in promoting government projects and empowerment of vulnerable people is safeguarded, as well as ensuring that the funds are not misused and avert disruptions on technicalities of the law.
Economic building in this country. So, members, I want to urge you, as we debate today, we and my colleague, we want to hear your views, how we can improve on this so that we can get into the second stage. And I can assure you, we are ready and we are equal to the task to amend the Constitution through parliamentary initiative without spending a single penny from the public.
Is that this matter will end up with both houses of Parliament, then both speakers of Parliament, should we reach the requisite 2/3 majority, will present the bill to the President for assent.
The National Treasury had announced it will not allocate monies to the NGCDF following the Supreme Court judgment that declared it unconstitutional. Parliament will also seek to enact the legislation to provide for operation of the Economic Stimulus and Empowerment Fund, whose objective will empower women, men, youth, and persons with disabilities. The quest to reintroduce NCGDF comes days after President William Ruto asked MPs to take measures to protect the 44.3 billion fund, to establish oversight committee for senators to oversight cash transfers to counties.
And I'm sure I speak for all the members here, we get no less than 100 phone calls of children who are at home because they cannot get bursaries. So it is not the members who are suffering, it is the people. I want to announce, Mr. Speaker, that the one thing that unites Kenyans, and I had the privilege to write this constitution, everywhere we went, the one thing people supported was the CDF.
To give, and it's not just giving, it's distributing. It feels so good, Mr. Speaker, when a young man comes and tells me, Madam Kihara, I went to school courtesy of your CDF and I'm working in this place. It feels very, very good. As we talk, calls are coming because we need, these people need bursary.
Entrenchment of other funds in the Constitution is seen as move by MPs to woo their colleagues in the Senate to support their push. With regards to the NGCDF, the said proposal will be a national government fund consisting of monies of an amount not less than 5% of all the national government's share of the revenue.
You have many needy students who their education is almost wholly dependent on CDF. We have infrastructure for schools, which has been improved through CDF. So I think making it, putting it into our constitution to protect this very important fund is an obligation for this House.
CDF has made in the lives of ordinary Kenyans across the country. You would agree with me that anybody putting roadblocks on the path of NGCDF, anybody trying to outlaw NGCDF, anybody trying to make NGCDF in operation, anybody trying to make NGCDF not to come into operation, Mr. Speaker, is essentially an enemy of the people.
While overturning the Court of Appeal decision that upheld the CDF Act, the Supreme Court said it was unconstitutional to extend that it sought to extend national government's mandate to counties. The court held that the CDF Act of 2013 offends the division of functions between national and county governments. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, and that is which happened yesterday, and the MPs, tabling on that, which was co-chaired by Stephen Mule, Matungulu Member of Parliament, and Githinji Gishimu, and now we can have other soundbites. Now, this was during the Members of Parliament, the retreat, and also soundbite by the former CS Treasury Ukur Yatani on all this particular debate.
Yule anataka kusumbuana na hili bunge la 13. Ashike National Government Constituency Fund 2015 Act. Najua kuna watu wameenda kotini, koti amue. Lakini Mkenya anajua kama kuna fedha ambao zinasaidia Mkenya ni za CDF. Na wakitaka tutaiweka kwa katiba. Na namba tuko nazo katika bunge.
Yule mtu ambaye ametuweka katika heshima ni Ukur Yatani. Na huyo Ukur Yatani mimi nakuhakikishia kwamba ataenda nyumbani haraka iwezekana. Kwa hiyo yale yote anaongea huko Naivasha aongee kwa sababu anajifurahisha, lakini hakuna maneno yote tutafuata.
The Supreme Court has made a pronouncement that CDF as it is illegal, and therefore we are not going to disburse funds, but we sought advice from the Attorney General for further direction.
Right, and that is Ukur Yatani, Professor, the former CS of Treasury, and being informed that we have to take a short break. But then, according to reports from the CDF, at least 6 million children have received bursaries to the tune of 57 billion Kenyan shillings over the last 5 years. From 2016 to 2022, 71.3% of the funds has been directed towards education and... just to get that briefly, with areas getting between 6 and 1%. The reason that I'm looking at this particular numbers, it will form the whole discussion with the panelists right here. But then let's take a short break and we'll be right back to diverge on these matters.
TV47, the home of untold stories.
Well, thank you for staying with us. This is Morning Cafe, and after the break, before the break, I had informed you that we'll be getting into the CDF for the next around 15 minutes or so, and the panel is right here. Begi Gesicho, political analyst, and Honorable Kiruga Thuku, MCA Chinga Ward. And gentlemen, the legislators have kicked the whole process of trying to rescue this CDF fund. And, I'm just, listening to the legislators in the parliament, in the whole unison, saying that these funds are quite important and they'll mostly benefit. And actually, just to quote what Otiendo Molo, MP, said, when MPs speak of CDF, they don't need it for themselves. Every day we get calls from children who can't get bursaries. On the other hand, there was the whole, when leaders are campaigning, and mostly MPs, MCAs are campaigning, most what they used to say is, we'll really give you the CDF. But then now without the CDF, most of these pledges are quite empty.
Which one does more harm? Let's be honest. Let's not run away from the truth. National Government Community Development Fund, CDF, as well, is well known all across the country. It's very crucial and very important. And if even this thing is brought to the public participation, I think it's one thing that will be signed one day, and all Kenyans will want NCDF back. There is no way you will take away a fund that was really assisting in educating the children of Kenya, the students in Kenya, and building educational outfits in this country. CDF is crucial. It's not about the member of parliament. Whether he uses it as an avenue to vie for his second term or third term or fourth term, it doesn't matter. The question is, what is the value of CDF to the community? And I can tell you the value of CDF to the community is 100%. If there's something the parliament should even, I think the parliament should put everything aside and fight for now, because these members of parliament, I vied for member of parliament seat. And that period of vying for member of parliament seat, the expenses that are there are unbelievable. You cannot tell me a member of parliament who earns less than $1 million will be able to raise an entire community, support the school children who are there who depend on CDF with their salaries to sustain school. It's not possible. This is the best crafted government concept that effectively works directly to Kenyans directly. It has small issues with which are some things that can be really checked out very fast, but it's a very crucial.
For example, what should be sort of edited in that whole CDF?
Nothing much. You see, now the comparison is we have the county government that is supposed to do this and that. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And there's no problem with even the county government giving more funds to either the members of the county assembly to support in the same struggle of education. It's a big thing. It's not a small thing. And this is one thing I think even the head of state is keen about, and it is something that will come to pass. And it's very wrong. I don't know. Anyway, we are not the judiciary, but I don't know even the person who made that ruling, what really inspired that ruling, Mheshimiwa, because it's something that concerns every young person who is in need of finances to go to school. Who takes away such a right? Who takes away such an opportunity from someone? How logical is it? What reason will you give? How content will you be even sleeping at night that we overruled this because of some constitutional misunderstanding?
And actually now the whole misunderstanding, there are two of them. So thrashing the Supreme Court's decision, members argue that the ruling was made on the Constituencies Development Fund Act 2013 and not that of the whole 2015. But then Hash, when you as you chime into this conversation, the whole introduction of CBC, and we actually aired a particular story where a parent was crying and a drought-stricken county, and she was crying and she was saying, so on one hand I'm supposed to give my child money for CBC, and then on the other hand I have to feed my kids. Where does CDF, how much will it really now, for example in Chinga Ward?
Well, what I want first to say is that any monies going to the people, going to benefit people, is always a very welcome idea. The Chinga people, because it doesn't come just to Shiga alone. CDF comes in Othaya, then the MP distributes the 4 wards that make up their constituency. And just like the devolved funds, CDF has done a lot. Because you see, except for the few starting days, when we were told we must do cattle dips, which by now all of them are in disuse. When people came and started saying we wanted to do this for us, maybe it deals with a lot of education issues. There are even suggestions that it should be opened up for water connections. So the thing is, this is not an MP's fund per se. Of course, the benefit to the MPs is because, they will be there. Saying people come, like the MPs are very central to the use of the fund. Because people bring the projects, then the MP coordinates, which is not a bad thing. So we must realize this is a people's fund, and they are the ones who, vote for the MP. And like I said, this money has no difference with what we are getting from the county governments. In my ward, I've been able to do so much, or to coordinate the doing of so much, using the money that the governor has been allocating, you see, and the projects the governor has been allocating. So I think I want to agree with the MPs 100%. This money must be brought back, right? But then, of course, the courts raised pertinent issues. I think they need to be addressed. But I can confirm to you, unlike the BBI, which is so contentious.
Let's go there.
I'm not going there, but you see, BBI divided this country so badly. And unlike the BBI, the issue of CDF, whether it goes through parliamentary initiative or whether it even comes for referendum, Kenyans will always endorse it because it have changed lives in this country. And I think somehow our people, they really need such funds. Because you see, like in education, the bursaries, like you are saying, we have had to do a lot of pleadings with our teachers. So in fact, the sooner this one can be activated, the better. Because the good thing is, if you combine what parents get from CDF and what they get from the county governments, at least it mitigates a bit. Of course, you'll never be able to address all the challenges using such funds, but they have really helped our society. Where these funds are properly used, people can enumerate a lot of benefits. Our schools, they undergo refurbishment, and such as the health centers, and such other matters.
Beggy, this is going to be an entry, quite a huge one. When, Ukuru time, the former CS was saying that we're not releasing any funds until all this is sorted. So now the fact that Professor Njuguna Ndung'u is the new boss in matters treasury, this is going to be something, all eyes on him.
Unfortunately, our president follows a rule of law. He is not going to overstep the judicial decision or anything, but I'm sure he's going to hasten the procedures that are supposed to be followed for NCDF to be brought back to Parliament. And whatever Yotani is saying, we really can't hold him much on it because it's the court order, and he has no obligation as the CS. In the meantime, before, if he hasn't handed over yet, he has no option. Even Professor Njuguna can't do much until it's done the right way. But then I can tell you, this is one thing that will be hastened in a manner that Kenyans have never seen before. And I believe Kenyans are also interested with that CDF fund because it goes beyond the member of parliament. It's not about the member of parliament. It's about the many young students who need bursaries to go through school. And you see, an educated society is a dying closer to the sun. It means success is
then closer. As you also continue, is there a battle of roles on who controls the CDF?
There have never been any role, any battle between any party, either the county government or the parliamentary house who is managing what. It will go back to the parliament because it serves best from there. Anyway, constitutionally, members of the parliament are heads of the constituency, so they are in a better place to work together with their counterparts in the member of country assemblies to see on how to improve the society that they come from. And you see, we cannot ignore, this is something I would strongly complain. I wish the judge who made that decision would have not made that decision, but seeked them to have, the court allows people to sit somewhere and agree on, I don't know what they call it, what do they call it, the English word? To discuss amongst themselves, to solve out of court. Mm-hmm. It would have been the best approach. Anyway, we are late, we are past that, but CDF needs to get back to parliament. Kenyans need it, and we can't run away from that. We have no discussion about that. We have no other option on that. Right. CDF needs to come back to government.
And now that the fact that we were speaking about funds, yes, and Mahesh as an MCA, briefly, because we are actually really out of time. This is one issue that is affecting Meru, the whole ward fund, and the governor. They were actually to meet today with the MCAs, but then the MCAs wrote back and said, "We are busy, by the way. We can't actually meet. We can't actually meet you." So as an MCA in Chinga ward.
One commentator said the guitar is the one that is bringing a lot of troubles in Meru. But what must be said, and what maybe some of these new governors need to learn, is that there is a lot of wisdom in respecting the MCAs. Those Meru MCAs didn't want to be given money to take to their homes. They requested for money, right, to take to their wards. And in fact, it is even not money that you are given. You are allocated money as a ward. Then the role of the MCAs to coordinate the collection of the projects, the prioritization of the projects. So, I think by now, the governor, Meru, and other governors have started seeing how things can go once you decide to be addressing your MCAs on media. Even this reconciliation meeting, instead of her waiting for it to happen, she went back to the media. This obsession of addressing your MCAs through the media should stop, right? He should respectfully, quietly call the MCAs, actually in the absence of her husband. Because you see, that is another problem. When that commentator was talking about the guitar, the husband always stands up everywhere with the guitar. You see? Now it is time for working. You see? The time of guitar is up. So, because you see, one of the complaints the Meru MCAs have been having is that, please, governor, you are the one who was elected governor. We cannot take orders from your husband. Right? So, all that is needed in Meru is goodwill. Right?
Okay.
Goodwill, you treating the MCAs right. Now look, you see now they rejected the CECs. Now you can wonder what will happen if they reject the budget. No, let me finish something here.
Yeah, we're really out of time.
Yeah, so the thing is this. The governor must have proper goodwill. I'll avoid these diversionary tactics. I don't know, the husband has been told not to sleep in the matrimonial bed. That is nonsense. That is not helping the Meru people.
Yeah.
Let them sit down properly, address each other with decorum, listen to the MCAs, because MCAs don't want anything personal. It is about serving their people. And you see, if she doesn't factor the CDF, the word fact they are requesting for, and they reject the budget, there would be vote trouble. But unfortunately, the people who suffer more are the people on the ground. So let that be resolved amicably and respectively.
We have less than 45 seconds to wrap this conversation up, so I definitely give you the chance to, chime into the whole Meru circus and mostly about the whole devolution. Even as you have your final words, then we can finish with Mhesh as the final words.
Unfortunately, this Meru circus is gone beyond. I think I would strongly advise the leaders in Meru, with all due respect, that they should outgrow some petty issues and realize that they were voted in by Kenyans in Meru to run their interest. So whatever it is, if there's someone behind pulling the MCAs to one direction and trying to influence their decision, MCAs should come up and come out and consider why they were voted in and just put their pride aside. Let the governor put her pride aside, the MCAs do the same, sit down, run into the agenda, run the county. These small issues, let's forget about them. And maybe parting words is, again, I would really seek Kenyans to consider highly where we are as a country in terms of our brothers and sisters who are dying of hunger. Animals are dying and we are not able to survive in this time. If we can be able to put our political agendas aside and focus on this, step out as well wishers and support these needy counties that need support in terms of food, water, to sustain the lives of our brothers and sisters and the whatever wealth they have in terms of livestock that are dying outside there will be very important. And we also call for international communities and international bodies, donors and grants to step in and support this agenda, because it's very crucial. Kenyans are dying and it's a bad moment for us, and the quicker we find a solution for that, the better for us and easier for us to move on with life.
Right, thank you very much, Mhesh. Your parting words.
Yes, thank you very, very much for the show. I think all I can promise our people is that we are really ready to work for them. I've been elected as the committee chair, and I think I thank my assembly very much. The chair implementation in the assembly of Nyeri. They have also sent me to represent the Nyeri County Assembly at the County Assembly's forum. Again, where a major decision concerning all our county assemblies are discussed. So I wish to promise our people, I'm still their servant, and that is what is most important to me. Of course, we must support our government. We campaign for it. Let our people not be confused. But again, I believe the prophets of doom will fail, and Ruto's government will work and succeed in building a better Kenya. Thank you very much.
The prophet of doom have failed.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Becky Gesicho, political analyst, and Honorable Kiruga Thuku, member of the County Assembly for Chinga Ward. Thank you for coming in this particular cold morning, by the way, and having this particular discussion.